Yeah, I mean, our view is that the US economy continues to gather momentum. So the first quarter was weak, very much driven by the poor weather that you've had in the east coast of the US. So our view is that the guidance is indicative that the US growth momentum is accelerating, which generally tends to be obviously good from an earnings perspective. And so the view that the Fed has got that they will continue to do taper is also the view that we hold. And then that obviously rates will start to rise in 2015, I think is very much where the consensus is as well. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is that we are now beyond 20 consecutive weeks of outflows from EM. So EM really hasn't done very well into this whole period of taper. Also before the 20 consecutive weeks, we've had plenty of weeks with outflows. I think in the near term, sentiment towards the EM continues to be very, very poor. By and large, the retail aspect of it is still taking funds out of EM. But it's interesting that we're hearing more and more that there are some more longer term mandates that are actually looking to invest into emerging markets. So I think the short term flows are still out, but the longer term flows are beginning to at least look at the region and the asset class with interest. I mean, the interesting thing on the Chinese earnings season so far is actually that you've had more positive surprises than negative surprises. But it has to be said that so far, actually the smaller percentage of companies have reported. And so there's a lot more companies that will report between now and the end of the month. But so far, it's actually been generally better than expected. Expectations are low. I mentioned earlier, if you look at the implied earnings growth rate for Chinese equities, it's about -2% perpetuity, so very low expectations. Earnings generally have been better than expected, although again the sample size is still quite small. So from that perspective, we actually think things have actually turned out better than most investors were expecting, but there is still clearly a concern about the shadow banking, the private wealth products. You mentioned the first default that we've ever seen, and obviously the fear is if there's one, there must be more. And so I think overall investors will continue to have quite a cautious outlook for the Chinese equity market.